Thank you very much, Father Clifford, and thank you to the excellent panel and the keynote speakers, our speaker and remarks from the Canadian High Commission. We have not actually received any questions, and if you wish, oh, I just see one coming in now. And the question is from Professor Edward Green, who is the Chancellor of the University of Ghana and also the former UN Special Envoy for HIV and AIDS in the Caribbean. And he says, thanks for the very poignant presentation of Reverend Boesak and the case studies of the other panelists. They helped us to understand the challenges and the struggles for LGBTQ justice in Africa. He asked, do you think that that accelerating the process will depend on broad-based coalition of progressive groups advocating for gender, racial, and LGBTQ equality as a package? So anyone from the panel, I invite you to unmute and start your video.
As a feminist activist in Nigeria, we have advocates and activists join the struggle, because I remember when we started the women's movement and we were completely saying men can't be part of this conversation, it was more difficult. But if we found a few men who were supportive of the rights of women, then we made more progress. But then we had learned, and we were the ones who made decisions on how they can join us. And so this is one of the things I've been saying in Africa also. If we opened up the doors, when we have been able to identify few voices who are genuinely committed to supporting our advocacy around the rights of LGBTI persons, then we're on the right path to making progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ngozi. And Dr. Boesak?
Just for everybody, you pronounce my name Allan Boesak.
Thank you, sir. Boesak.
We should have cleared this up before, but you know, things happen.
Don't worry, I'm called Maurice by Father Clifford, and it's Maurice, but that's another conversation. Okay, Dr. Boesak.
Just so you know. No, thank you, Dr. Green, for that question. I believe that you are absolutely right. We have to do this as civil society as a whole. The church cannot hope to raise these questions on our own or to drive the process on our own. Number one, we are always Johnny-come-latelys with these issues. Even in the struggle against apartheid and racial justice in South Africa, the churches as institutions came in very late. There were Christian leaders and Christians in the streets, and especially the young people who, on the basis of their faith, joined the struggle and stood up for justice. But it took the churches as institutions a long time to really realize that there was a struggle going on and that we have to be on the side of that revolution. I'm not talking about statements and resolutions and decisions. That's the easy part. And we've always done that very eloquently. It is taking the words and making deeds of them in the streets where it matters, where you can put pressure on governments and keep politicians' feet to the fire. That's where the church came in very late. Number one. Number two, we can't do this as a church alone because we have very little credibility on the LGBTQI issue. From our catechisms to our theologies to our sermons to the way we reach the Bible, we have a dismal record. And so for Christians who are involved in the struggle, there's always two fronts that we have to fight. One is society in general, but the other one is our own churches and the Christian community, or the faith communities then broader. And so we have to keep that in mind. We cannot say with confidence that the church can do this on its own, always together with others, joining in the struggle, not to Christianize those struggles, but to join it and to make our contribution so that we can be a beacon of hope for those people in the LGBTQI community, whether they belong to the church or any faith tradition or not, that they can get some courage and some sustenance from what we are trying to do. And then also so that we can have the credibility to challenge our churches on these issues. And so that means that we have to read the Bible differently. We have to interpret the Bible differently. When we write our theology, we have to be clear on these things. We have to preach these issues quite openly and clearly. And then we have to testify with our bodies in the street and literally stand between the LGBTQ persons and those who want to attack them, or those who want to belittle them, or those who want to hurt them, and those who want to kill them. That is our place. How do we make our Christian love a clear, combative love that shows embedded solidarity in these matters? So no, never the church on its own, but the church with other groups, progressive groups, so that the prophetic church can add its voice to this. And that's the only way that we can do this.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to make a point about some of the panelists. We were to have heard today from Reverend Noctula Dlandla, who is an ambassador from the Global Interfaith Network. And unfortunately, Reverend Dlandla had a family emergency. And so we will see if we can get her presentation recorded, and it will be added to the final production. This entire conference will be hosted permanently on the HIV Legal Network's YouTube channel, and we will try to get Dr. Dlandla's presentation included because we really want to hear from her. And also Ngozi had quite a lot more to say, or had some more to say, and we're going to see if we can get her presentation with all her slides recorded so that we can include it, because it's very important to see how the similarities in the struggle in Africa and in the Caribbean, how similar they are, and the strategies that worked or did not work so that we don't reinvent the wheel or repeat the mistakes. So I'm really sorry that this conference was not held in Africa. Just a point, we had tried very hard last year, and one of the participants in the conference this year, Davis Makiala, had actually tried to find a pastor in West Africa who would be brave enough to act as host pastor, because the first conference was held in the Caribbean, and we thought we should oscillate between the Caribbean and Africa and, you know, other jurisdictions. However, after much this dialogue and trying hand-holding, we weren't able to find a brave enough pastor in West Africa to host the conference. I think they were fearful of the backlash, and that's unfortunate. And we want to hold it in a jurisdiction where there is criminalization, because a part of this, the purpose of this conference series is to ensure that we generate dialogue in the countries where these laws still exist and have the churches speak to them, why they support sending consenting adults to prison for what they do in the privacy of their bedroom. We wanted to force the church to get from behind the pulpit and address this issue in these contexts. So I'm sure Davis will continue his work, Davis and other people like Jide, who are doing great work in West Africa, to find a brave enough pastor with a broad enough back to act as host pastor. And Father Clifford is a tough act to follow. I'm sure we'll all see that, but that's part of the challenge. But we really want to bring this series to West Africa. I do not see any more questions, and I would therefore turn it back over to Father Clifford at this time, and perhaps now is a good time for us to take our break. Father Clifford?
Yes, indeed. I'm glad to know that my back is apparently broad enough, and that I'm apparently brave enough to do this. I hadn't quite thought of it that way. But on the subject of names, Maurice, as you know, my brother was Maurice with the same spelling, and I loved him dearly, and that should tell you something too, right? So, yes, I don't really care what people call me. Here in Barbados, from the Christian right, it's usually heretic, but I can live with that. So, yes, we're now going to have a 10-minute break, and we can all get our second cups of coffee for the morning. So we'll see you all back in 10 minutes. Thank you all very much.